Dan Jones says, I just tuned in. I'm a car racer, and I'm thinking about the new MT12. What is ExpressLRS latency compared to Airtronics or Swana? Dan Jones, I don't know what Airtronics and Swana latency is. I do know that ExpressLRS is very, very focused on having extremely low latency. So ExpressLRS at its highest frame rate does 1,000 hertz. And is there by chance, is Captain Bry still in the chat? Does anybody know what the latency of ExpressLRS is at 1,000 hertz? I don't see Captain Bry. Yeah, he's here. Captain Bry was here not too long ago. Captain Bry! Captain Bry! Stop eating dinner! Captain Bry! Stop kissing your wife! Come back! I need you! That didn't sound right. The latency is, I don't know what the latency of Airtronics or Swana is. If you know the answer, then we can compare. But I can tell you that the latency of ExpressLRS, the thing, and by the way, I have the MT12. I'm getting ready. I am actually my very, very first RC car. I bought the car and then realized it didn't come with a battery. And then I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was ready to run. SOBs, I thought it was ready to run. It wasn't ready to run. But so I bought the battery. I have the MT12. I'm going to be making a video about it, even though I am not an experienced ground vehicle driver. The thing that's going to piss you off about this radio is EdgeTX. Now, that's also the thing I love most about it. If you're like an RC car guy, you're going to turn this controller on, and you're going to go, what the frick is all this garbage? Right? Because if you don't already know how EdgeTX works, then this is going to be a big learning curve. But it's a big plus to me because I love EdgeTX. I know how to use it, and it's really nice to have a long-range, high-performance control link in a controller with EdgeTX built in. Maybe you're going for that same thing. We've got a quote here that says, ExpressLRS is faster than most links out there with a latency of 6.5 milliseconds at 200 hertz. At 250, Captain Bry says 1.558 milliseconds for F1000. So at the fastest packet rate F1000, you're under 2 milliseconds of latency. Now, you're not going to get as much range out of 1,000 hertz as you will out of a lower packet rate. Although with a ground vehicle that isn't necessarily leaving line of sight, that 1,000 hertz may have enough range for you. I guess we're going to find out. I can't wait to get the battery and be able to try this dang thing out. Black Jungle, thank you for 10 Brazilian reais. Gates made with PVC and cloth and agility training cones for lines. Would those make for a decent drone training course? What would you suggest? 40 millimeter drones. For 40 millimeter drones, PVC is going to be fine. It's going to be super durable. You probably could find cheaper material, but it's a fine choice. Hold on. That's going to be annoying. The fan on my power supply started going. Bannister Post, what has not worked for you in 4.3? Is it the thing I was talking about with S-Bus? Agility training cones is probably overkill for 40 millimeter drones. One thing that really makes like micro drone race courses come alive is lights. So if you can get some LED rope lights and lay them out along the course, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Gadget RC suggests PEX tubing for LED gates. Yeah, that's going to be nice because you can just bend it into like a circle. That's really fun. This question is from Interpret Null, who asks, if you only had a DJI setup, like Goggles 2 or V2 or something, and wanted to get a Whoop setup for indoors in the winter, what would you get as a ready-to-fly kit? used goggles and a Mobula 6, something else. I don't think you have to go analog just to fly indoors, but it's definitely true that any DJI drone, any drone, even with a naked vista, like let's say you got something like the Flywoo. Let's see here. Is this the one? Yeah, this is a good choice. So this is an example of the kind of thing I would steer you towards, because this is just about the smallest thing that carries a DJI video transmitter. You can see here they've taken the Caddx Runcam Wasp, which is basically a Caddx Vista. It's just the same thing under a different name. And they've nakedized it and mounted it on a 2-inch, which I believe is an 85 millimeter. And we struggle a little bit with that math. And to be honest, if you're used to how an 85 millimeter whoop flies, you're going to think this flies really badly. You're going to think it's heavy. You're going to think it's not very agile. And the additional weight is going to compromise the durability somewhat. But if you're looking for a micro-sized drone that carries a DJI video transmitter, this is the kind of thing that you're going to end up getting. You could go up to a 95 millimeter, but now you're starting to get more into sort of cine-whoopy range, and the ability to kind of rip around indoors is going to be compromised. I think this is like, I'm sure that somebody makes a 75 millimeter with a Vista on it. It's hard for me to imagine it being any damn good because of the weight. And personally, this is just about as small as I'd feel comfortable going. So I'd steer you, well, I've flown this exact quad and thought it was pretty good, although I mostly flew it outdoors. But I would steer you in this direction or something like it. With the caveat that it's like, if you really want that indoor whoop experience, then you're going to go to something like Walksnail HD0 or Analog, which are going to be significantly lighter. But you're going to have to get a new set of goggles for that, and you probably don't want to do that. Speed Limit Challenger says, I have a Beta FPV Cetus X, which comes with 4-blade props. I was curious if I put 2-blade props on, would I get a smoother flight? Looking to mount an Insta360 Go on it. Thank you for a $10 super chat, Speed Limit Challenger. That's a tough one, man. The 4-blade props are going to make more thrust. If you go down to 2-blade props, typically you would also have a significantly higher KV for the motors. Now, you're not going to do that. You're going to keep your same motor KV. So basically, you'll be cutting the thrust. I don't know if it's in half, but it's less. So now you're going to mount an Insta360 Go on it, and you're going to be at a significantly higher throttle position. Whether it'll be smoother or not, the motors are going to get a little more responsive because the props will be less loaded down, less drag on the motors. But if the PID tune is designed for the 4-blade props, going down to 2-blade props may have a negative effect. There's no way to say for sure, but tiny whoop props aren't that expensive. It's 1,000% worth just buying a set of props and trying them and seeing what happens. You probably won't break anything. I think you should go for it.